We were ready for our main event. And I said, my God, we've got 25 minutes left in the show for a street fight. And so I knew that this was going to be a long slog, but I wasn't prepared. I think it was saved by the inadvertent hilarity at the end and by everybody being mystified at what was wrong with Cody's skin. Did he have the heartbreak of psoriasis or what was going on? But this was the longest match in wrestling history. It would not stop. Andrade against Cody. Andrade had his assistant's name is Jose, I believe we've learned.
We have in fact learned that, yes. He's in great shape, by the way.
He's in great shape. But it's not the No Way Jose guy. It's just some new guy that they found named Jose.
Whatever happened to No Way Jose?
I don't know. I couldn't pick him out of a police lineup. I just was amazed every time I read the name. But Arn was in Cody's corner. Jose was in Andrade's corner. This is an Atlanta street fight. Brian, we watch this program every week, but can you connect the dots for me and remind me just briefly why Cody and Andrade are mad at each other enough to have a street fight match, whether it be in Atlanta or any other city in the contiguous United States?
Well, you may remember Cody had a big feud with Malachi Black, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere, or for some reason, Malachi and Andrade became friends. Maybe because they bonded off their experience on the main roster, you know?
Yeah, I remember that. And we said, well, Malachi Black should be a spooky guy out on his own and not really palling around with anybody. But yeah, they somehow found common ground, Malachi Black and Andrade Olio.
Then, remember FTR attacked Cody, and it turned out that Andrade made a deal with MJF to rent out FTR, because apparently he's not just their friend, they're not just in his stable, he rents them out. Which is an interesting twist on things. And then they attack Cody.
Well, I've heard that there is a lot of money to be made in the rent boy industry. For our friends across the pond, they're blowing snot right now. Nobody in the States knows what the fuck I just said.
I do, and I will choose to ignore that comment and move on. So, of course, Andrade rented a couple of boys, and it was FTR, and they came out for no reason that we figured out to attack Cody, which I think led to an 8-man with the Lucha Brothers. And so now it's been established that Pac and Andrade, or not Pac, Andrade and Malachi and FTR, they're all somewhat involved. And then after a couple of weeks of this and no promos or anything or nothing to really explain why Cody feels the way he does, an Atlanta street fight. Because that's the way Dusty would do it.
Okay. So now
look, I may be missing something and I may be wrong, but I think that's actually the order. I don't think there was any blood feud that developed. There was no big thing that led to a street fight or a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I don't think we've seen a single promo from Cody to explain any of this.
So what you're saying is that Cody had the chance to do something in Atlanta that people would talk about, and all they needed to do was figure out how he could have a match with no rules whatsoever so that he could do that.
Yes.
Okay. Now we got that.
It's like all the Cody stuff. I mean, you can't deny it. Even with the stuff you like the Dustin match. Everything with Cody is overbooked. And when you really stop and think about it, none of it makes any sense how you get from A to Z. It's more just like Cody wants a moment. Cody has an idea of something he wants to do. Nothing makes any sense of how we got there, but hey, let's do it.
It's all about the moments. Well, there was a moment at the start of this because Andrade came out. He wears a suit and tie, but he was in a white dress shirt, a wet white dress shirt contest instead of a wet t-shirt contest. It looked like somebody had sprayed him down with a hose. And I thought that I knew why, that he was wearing a shirt that was completely soaked with water, but then later on he took it off. So that blew my theory there. But he'd been showering in his clothes when he came out. And then here comes Captain America Cody Rhodes entering to monumental indifference from his hometown crowd. And I swear to God, I felt so bad. Here comes Cody and Arn down the ramp, or down the entranceway, and Andre and Jose charge from the ring to attack them on the entrance ramp. And Andre jumps on Cody and they start fighting. And Jose goes to swing at Arn, and Arn stepped sideways and fell off the fucking ramp for a shoot. Right as Jose went to swing a punch, and Arn wasn't there anymore. He just dropped out of. There is a video out there on, I guess it's on YouTube. I haven't seen it in years, but Kelsey Grammer, played Dr. Fraser Crane, is hosting some kind of award thing or charity thing or whatever, and he's talking on the microphone, a very introspective moment, and he's walking around the stage while he's pitching this charity or whatever, and then suddenly he just falls off the stage, just drops out of sight of the camera. He still got the microphone, but it was like an 8-foot drop, and you just hear him say, "Oh, good Lord." And all I could think of when Arn hit the ground off the side of that ramp was, "Oh, good Lord." And what happened was Jose, after he'd swung and missed Arn because Arn wasn't there anymore because he'd fallen off the ramp. Did you see this, Brian? And it wasn't completely clear on the television shot, but there was fan footage that was tweeted out. And that they were on this incident, not the other guys fighting. Arn falls off the ramp. Jose looks down and reaches his hand down. Like, "Here, buddy, I'll help you up." And Arn reaches up and takes the guy's hand. And Jose pulls Arn back up to his feet and gets him onto the ramp again, and then gets on him and starts beating him up. And what the fuck? Why couldn't you just jump down there and beat on the guy when he was already down? You had to reach down. "Here, buddy, I'll help you." Helped him up and then start. So that's the way the match started. And of course, with the jump start. And then Arn made a comeback and was fighting Jose. He's throwing punches at Jose. Jose's glasses were still on. Arn doesn't hit like he used to. Then Andre and Cody fight into the crowd, and Cody grabs a garbage can, but not like a gimmick garbage can, but one of the garbage cans in the arena, and picks it up and hits Andre with it, and all the garbage and the fucking refuse flies out all over the fans. So maybe that's why they were booing him later on in the match. He threw garbage on them. Would you cheer somebody that threw fucking old banana peels and goddamn coffee grounds on you? And then they're having a fight, Cody and Andre, in the arena in front of the general admission seats. And suddenly in the middle of this fight where they're throwing punches at each other right and left, Cody stops, turns his back on Andre, climbs up on the railing, and does a moonsault body block off the railing onto Andre. So in the middle of a fight, he stopped beating on the guy so that he could climb up to the railing with his back turned and backflip off on the guy. That's the way you win every saloon fight that I've ever seen. There was a sign in the crowd at that point, "Dive on me and I'll call Stephen P. New." They're listening. Should we bring it up now? The heartbreak of Cody's psoriasis.
That's a good way to put it.
As soon as they started fighting in the arena, Cody whips off his Captain America red, white, and blue robe, and his back is peeling. His entire back, there's just flakes peeling off. And you hadn't seen this, but I saw somebody the morning after that the program aired. They thought that Cody had pre-burned himself and his back was peeling because he had practiced the bump that he's going to take in the finish of this. And a spoiler alert. And they thought that you would actually, I know they're all crazy here, but you don't practice that. And So people were up in arms trying to figure out what's the matter with Cody's back, what's the matter with Cody's back. I normally hate to reveal people's magic when it's well done, but since this was the furthest thing from well done, should we go ahead and tell them what the fucking issue was, Brian?
We can, and you and I both had the same initial thoughts, I believe, when we saw Cody's back.
Well, yes, and then it's been verified by other people who have experience in this particular substance, but it was fire retardant gel, or not gel, maybe, I don't know, some say it's fire retardant shit that you rub on that stuntmen in the movies use when they're going to do a fire stunt. And it helps insulate your skin. It's a layer in between your skin and the fire so that for a brief period of time, you don't get burned even if your skin is touching fire. However, I don't know if they didn't get the entire story or if somebody gave them bad information. You don't put that shit on and then go wrestle for 20 minutes and then do the stunt. Because that's when the shit dried up and was peeling off. And that's probably why when he did do the thing that we'll talk about that he did shortly, all the flaming table pieces stuck to his fucking back. The top of the formica or the finish or whatever on that table peeled off and stuck to his back with the gel, the fire retardant gel on it. But anyway, that's why, unfortunately, that Cody's back looked like that he was goddamn molting through the whole match, and it was off-putting. And even the announcers were asking, one of the announcers tried to explain it by saying it was some of the garbage. I think it was Tony Schiavone. Some of the garbage from the garbage can was on Cody's back. Cody got, then they start doing the street fight stuff. Cody asks a fan in the front row for a chair, and he gives it to him. T-Pain, I guess because they named him, he's somebody.
He's a rapper.
Oh, boy.
And he's known. And he's on the TBS Go Big Home or Go Big Show, whatever it is.
Go Home Big Show.
Go home.
Did Big Show go home?
We haven't seen
him lately.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so this match continues. They whip each other with the weight belt, and then Andrade's got it, and he tosses the weight belt to the crowd, and the crowd starts chanting, "Throw it back, throw it back." And then Andrade got in his assistant's purse and brought out a laptop and hit Cody with the laptop. And then they used a chair, and they used the garbage can lid, and he pulled out a table. Same old shit as in every indie garbage match with weapons, just better TV production around it. Another sign, Outlaw Mud Show, was held up right at a very appropriate time. And also there was a sign in the front row, Corny loves Sprite Zero. I was always big in Atlanta.
Too bad didn't have an address to send Sprite Zero to.
Yeah, if you can send me, well, now I've still got some of the cans I got last time. But anyway, here's the thing. Cody is selling like a baby face. The facials, the body language. He's hurt. He's crippled up. He's doing a magnificent job of portraying pain with his body. And the crowd boos every time he gets offensive. Every time he made a comeback, they started booing it. Cody does a dive out of the ring on Andrade, but Andrade puts a chair up and he goes head first in the chair and he gets some color. But then, to get even for this, Cody goes under the ring, pulls out a sledgehammer, throws it away. I don't need this. He can't get over it, can he?
No, that was the exact thing I was going to say. He can't get over it.
At this point, it's not. It was a tickle for the fans the first time when he used the sledgehammer to break the throne or whatever. Everybody got the message, and it's cute, and we're a new. That's 2 years later, and he still can't get over that the poor fella with the heart condition is not wrestling anymore and has apparently very little pull to begin with anymore, but he's still trying to take his own personal grudges out. So he throws the shovel away and pulls out a golden shovel.
Well, he threw the sledgehammer away and pulled out a golden shovel.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
No, you said he threw the shovel away and pulled out a golden shovel.
Well, that's your story. I know what I said in my mind, and in my mind I heard myself say that he threw the sledgehammer away and got the golden shovel. And it was a golden shovel. It was a regular size 6-foot-long shovel painted entirely gold.
Now, you've been in the wrestling business a long time. Typically, those are under the ring, right? That's where you keep those?
Yeah, that's where you keep the golden shovels. And the silver spoons are in the boys' fanny packs. But so he gets a golden shovel and he hits Jose in the head with it. And that didn't look comfortable. And then Andrade jumps up to the top rope and he's going to flip dive or whatever the fuck off the top over the ring post onto Cody on the floor. But when he got up the top, he bobbled. He nearly fell. So that was a little dodgy. Andre pulled out a table and threw it in the ring and got the legs hung on it. And then the announcers, including Taz, who's an expert, spent a lot of time trying to tell Andre, even though he couldn't hear, how the fuck he was doing it wrong because he couldn't get the idea to turn the table over so the legs wouldn't get caught on the ropes. But then he sets it up so it looks like he meant to do it that way anyway and leaned it up and then hip-tossed Cody through the table. And then Andre immediately goes out and gets another table and puts it in the ring the same way where the legs get stuck on the rope, but he gets it in. I think the referee helped him. And then Cody grabbed the other end of it and like they were trying to jockey for position over it, but in actuality helped his opponent set the table in the right place, what they thought was the right place. And at this point, I came up, before we go into this finish, I came up with a disturbing thought, possibly an idea, a burst of inspiration. Eureka! Is Cody Rhodes trying to do every trick in the book at all of them? He's doing all of them to be a babyface, and it's just not working? Or is he purposely doing every trick in the book to be a babyface, but also purposely having them go horribly awry to make himself a heel on purpose without letting us know that he's trying to make himself a heel? What do you think?
There's been a lot of theories. I just don't think Cody's very bright, and I also don't think he has a lot of wrestling. I don't think he has any wrestling instincts, to be quite honest with you. I don't think he can go out there and do something without overthinking it, consulting with people. There's nothing that feels organic or real with Cody Rhodes. So you would have to believe that Cody sat down and came up with this amazing idea. And quite frankly, if you believe that, why wouldn't you believe that he's been doing that since the beginning? When he was supposed to be a babyface acting like Ric Flair. The fuck's he been since the very beginning? Now I think Cody's lost the plot. People are aware of it. And even if he wants to try to get it back now and take control of the situation, which I think they tried to do when Cody had Arn start a bonfire in his backyard because he went to Hollywood.
And burned all of his fucking possessions.
And no one gave a shit. And the problem with all of this, which I think was one of the big problems with this match you had a guy who in his head is one thing, and the company still, whenever he's actually there, uses him a certain way, but other people don't see him that way. And other people see through him. And with Andrade, I'm sorry, you have a guy no one gives a fuck about. They've tried. He had Vicky, he had Chavo Jr., he has Jose, he's been feuding with Cody, he's been in other matches. Does anyone care about Andrade? I don't care how talented he is. So you put Cody in there in a street fight against someone no one gives a fuck about, who he doesn't really even have a real feud with. This whole thing was poorly done, and with poor instincts, he wanted to create a moment with the flaming table. He didn't want to do something that fits the match or something that made any sense. It was just all about Cody, and I'm sure that'll be episode 1 or one of the episodes of season 2 of the fucking dumb reality show, which I can't wait for. I'm going to be honest. They are the best comedy team in wrestling. They are the two of the funniest people on the planet. Cody and Brandy. I can't wait for season 2, and you know that's what this was all about.
30 minutes on Cody's big flaming table moment. I can see it now as the debut episode of the next season, and how that he risked his life for his art, and everyone was dumbfounded and awestruck. Actually, they were probably dumbstruck and awefounded. But you've given away the big spoiler. Andrade pulls out another table. As we mentioned, he's trying to get it in. He and Cody set it up together. Then he puts Cody on the table. Then he goes to the top, but Cody gets off and catches him and goes to superplex him. But Andrade blocks that and knocks Cody back down. But Cody reaches up and splits Andrade's legs out and nuts him on the top rope as he's going to go moonsault off onto Cody. So Andrade is sitting facing away from the ring, straddling the top turnbuckle. Cody climbs up like he's going to back suplex him through the table. And then suddenly, here comes somebody all dressed in sweatpants and a hoodie and a mask, and they stand up and drop the mask, and it's Brandy. Brandy's back! Brian, did you hear the roar from the crowd?
Now, this is a big moment. We haven't seen Brandy since the Queen show. The crowd, you would think, would go crazy to have Brandy back on the show.
The roar of the crowd was kind of, it's Brent. And she just matter-of-factly, like she's preparing her grocery list and sticking her purse in the cart to go take a loop around Kroger, she starts spraying the table with lighter fluid. And meanwhile, Cody's up on the ropes with this fucking guy, and he's looking over his shoulder. And then she said, and the referee's standing there like, oh, I don't think you ought to do that. And she sets the table on fire, and the flame leaps up. And then suddenly Cody bursts into action, and you could almost tell it. Andrade wasn't really looking forward to taking this ride, because Cody's like, come on, get up here, it's time. And he kind of got up there, and Cody gives him a reverse superplex kind of thing where he superplexed him off the ropes, but Andrade is coming down chest first and face first rather than the opposite direction like a regular superplex. And Cody superplexed him right over the table. Andrade went over the table and landed pretty much on his feet on the other side of it and then rolled out of the way, and Cody went straight through the fucking flaming table himself, setting himself on fire in the process, and not the flame retardant shit, but his boot was actually on fire. While he was making the cover, his leg was on fire. So the finishing move of this match was that Cody threw his opponent off the top rope over the flaming table to the safety of the middle of the ring, while he himself crashed directly through the flaming table, getting pieces of the flaming table stuck to his back and setting himself on fire. And then he rolled over and pinned the guy that was unscathed. 1, 2, 3. And while that was happening, Brandy had an expression on her face that alternated between you believe that she actually thinks that the people were happy to see her back and that she had done something constructive, and at the same time she's looking at her husband with burnt pieces of fucking formica stuck to his back going, I don't think that was supposed to happen like that.
Yeah, she lit her husband on fire on national TV. That doesn't usually happen.
When you go to a barn or a manure field to watch the garbage death match wrestling, you see two fat, bald guys in sweatpants hitting each other with light tubes and setting each other on fire. You expect to see that. And all 100 or so of the fat, bald guys that pay to get in to see it expect it too. But on national television, and not even just a national cable network, but a Turner network, one of the big ones, not just C-SPAN. You expect professional wrestling by professionals, not garbage deathmatch wrestling. There should be a higher standard here. And we can laugh and joke about the people booing Cody no matter what he does. He can cure cancer, save kittens from burning buildings. That's funny, yes. But all this match on a real television network does, besides encouraging the aspiring fat fuck deathmatch wrestlers, is all this match does is to make wrestling as a business or a sport and everybody in it as individuals look like blithering fucking idiots. How do two supposed professionals do something like this that both makes wrestling look obviously phony and at the same time hurts them worse than if they'd have had a real match? And nobody cared. And the rating was down. And Cody got set on fire. All this does, that's why, again, the garbage deathmatch wrestlers do shit like this because they have no talent and no brains. And they have no hope in life of ever getting either. And they've got no money and no jobs and they don't get laid. So they do this to make people look at them for some reason. Those are not the kind of people that get hired to be on real television for real companies. And say what you want about Cody or Andrade, neither one of them has to do this shit. They're not two fucking fat tattooed guys with nose rings in a fucking barn. They can actually, with varying degrees of success, have a professional wrestling match. They just choose not to because Cody wanted to have a moment that didn't make any sense and makes everybody in the business look like a fucking moron. So, I can't, a good match is one thing, a bad match is one thing, but just this level of unprofessionalism and stupidity, and it encourages all the non-talent, aspiring garbage deathmatch fucks. Oh, look, if we do that, then we can be on national TV too, because in their simple minds, they think that's going to happen. And like I said, since they have no lives that anybody would want in any other respect, they want people to take notice of them and they want to be somebody. So they set themselves on fire, or they drive roofing nails through their fucking tongue, or they goddamn, staple their dick to a fucking billboard or whatever they do. And then everybody goes, oh, look, there's the guy that bites the head off the live chicken at the fucking county fair. Oh, they outlawed that years ago. I forgot. Now it's just deathmatch wrestling that needs to be outlawed. And this is the kind of shit that perpetuates that stuff and makes more people want to fucking do it because they think I'm a loser, but they do that on TV. So if I do it, I'll get on TV too. And most wrestling promoters reward these fucking simpletons with doing just that. So, and did you hear that Cody has also given his Twitter account over to the AEW Community Outreach Program? So that they can do, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, I don't know about
Yes,
that.
This is another thing he's done. They made the announcement. Cody's got all these followers on Twitter, but apparently maybe he's not been getting a lot of good feedback on Twitter. He said the best use for my Twitter account and all of the followers that I have will be for the AEW Community Outreach Program to use it. And I mean,
he's the most disingenuous motherfucker out there.
He's gonna be the first guy in the world to find a cure for cancer and somebody stab him for it.
Because he's ridiculous and it's all pretentious and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. The wrestlers know it. The fans now know it. It's about what you do with that now. And by the way, right. Still, if you want to say Cody's a babyface, Brandy's still a heel. We know she thinks she's a heel. She's still acting like a heel. But this whole thing was ridiculous. And these two geniuses sat there and clearly came up with this whole thing and thought it was a great idea. And this is Cody's way. Look, Cody left WWE and put out that list. his indie credibility list. I want to wrestle in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and I want to do this, and I want to wrestle, whatever, in my underpants. I want to grab a dick. Everything that was popular at that moment on the indie scene, Cody conveniently put on a little neatly written list and tweeted out that photo because it did the job. It made people think that he actually was trying to incorporate himself with what was genuinely happening, as opposed to he's trying to jump onto it because other than that, he's going to have no career in wrestling. He's smart enough to realize it's either over or I do this. And when he does shit like this and lighting himself on fire for no reason, against a guy no one gives a shit about, who they don't even have a feud that anyone cares about, and the guy went over the fucking table. I mean, everything that could have been dumb about this was dumb, but he wants that moment. He wants to be able to say, look at what I do, the sacrifices I make for AEW, not realizing how many guys there just wish he would stay home. And a lot of the fans feel the same way now.
And the thing is, he missed a great chance to get some sympathy. Can you imagine? He takes a bump off the top rope through a table that is on fire, setting himself on fire in the process and having pieces of the burning table stuck to his flesh. That's a way a babyface gets beat. If you'd have pitched that finish to any babyface in history, even Hulk Hogan, he'd say, okay, brother, I guess I can do a job for that.
And by the way, stay down. Let the medical team come out there and work on you.
Yes, he pops up and covers the guy that missed everything. Missed the table, missed the fire, landed in the nice soft ring.